Welcome to Finding Light in Grief, the podcast that takes you on a journey through life, death, and loss. We explore the many facets of grief, sharing stories, insights, and practical advice to help you navigate your own journey. I'm Melanie, a coach who specializes in guiding individuals on transformative journeys through grief and loss. I'm joined by my co-host Andy, a grief coach with a passion for helping people live with intention. Together, we are here to support and inspire you as we delve into these profound experiences. Whether you are dealing with a recent loss or exploring your own mortality, we are here to find the light in the darkness. So join us as we embrace the transformative power of grief and discover the beauty within it. This is Finding Light in Grief. How are you, Andy?
I'm good. We're back.
We're back. Very happy.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. And I think this time we're gonna be smart and we're gonna try and keep it to a shorter time. And
exactly.
But we've got a great topic to talk about.
Yes, we got a very great topic. I think a very, very important topic and something what a lot of people underestimate.
And I think it's really interesting for us to talk about because you've got some real lived experience that you're going to share. And I've got lots of outside experience because a lot of the people that I work with, you know, this thing is very close to them. So I think this could be a really interesting conversation because we're going to come at it from inside and outside.
Yes. You want to share our topic, Andy?
Would you want me to? You want me to introduce it?
Yes, please.
I should do all the work. So we're going to talk about anticipatory grief and the way that shows up. So you tell me, Melanie, what does anticipatory grief mean to you?
So to me, it means when you anticipate a grief. So when you anticipate a loss, means you find yourself suddenly in the situation of knowing that you would lose someone you really love, or to lose someone, or to lose even a pet, to lose a loved person in your surroundings. Also there, it can be an anticipated loss for so many things. But we are going to talk today here about the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
Andy, would you like to add something to the description?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that this is grief before something's happened.
Yes.
So it's beforehand, and I feel that it can be really difficult because society or societal norms are that we grieve for something after it's happened and not before. So I think there's really interesting stuff around that, and also the way that we deal and the way that our emotions show up in this lead up to an event that we think is going to occur.
Yeah.
So I think it shows up in very many ways. You know, as you've said, it can show up when we know that we're going to lose somebody, but also when we think we're going to lose somebody, or when we think that we might die ourselves. You know, I've had this experience this week. I worked with two beautiful people, one after the other, actually. The first one had a heart attack and had lots and lots, you know, it was a sudden event, but he had lots of anticipatory grief about what might have happened had he died. And then I went straight on to a lady with multiple sclerosis who knew that she was not going to live as long as she might have hoped and was effectively slowly dying. And so she had lots of anticipatory grief around this thing that was going to happen and the way that it was going to happen.
Can you share a little bit more about this this persons? I mean, how do they experience this and how do they deal with that? And what's their approach, and how do you what role do you play in all of this?
Well, I think there's an awful lot there, and obviously, it's worked through in a lot of time, but in a nutshell. So the first guy, he died. You have a heart attack, you're dead.
Mm.
So his thing was he is anticipating what he would have left behind. So he had a child and a wife, and he was and it was really weighing very heavily on him.
Mm.
And he was getting this emotional roller coaster, which is really common in anticipatory grief.
Mm.
So, you've got this joy, this relief that you didn't die, and then this sort of crushing anxiety around what you might have left behind, and some sadness that you may not have experienced things that you're now going to go on and experience. And then, of course, that's compounded by the fact that people around him are saying, oh, what you sad for? You survived. This should be a joyous occasion.
Mm.
So he was in a really unique situation, and he was his emotions are very, very much up and down. And then feeling guilt around feeling joyful, or feeling guilt around feeling sad or anxious or whatever else.
Yeah, absolutely. You would imagine, oh, well, you survived it, be happy. And why would you even think about it anymore? So, but you are so right in what you describe. I mean, there is so much more to it. And to cope with all these emotions and feelings which are arising, it's challenging.
Yeah. And also, exactly the same for the people, for his friends, his child, his wife, all in the same situation, all on this roller coaster of emotion.
Mm.
We nearly lost Dad. I'm sad. Dad
Mm.
didn't die. I'm happy.
Mm.
You know, Guilt. Could I have done something differently? If I'd done this, would he not have had the heart attack?
Mm.
So there really is, I think, roller coaster for me.
Yeah.
Roller coaster and guilt are the two words that really pin anticipatory grief. And then my second client, she's effectively in the process of a long, slow death. Okay. I'd like to clarify something though, which I think is really, really important. We are all in the process of a long, slow death.
Mm.
Yeah. From the moment we're born,
Yeah.
yeah, we're slowly dying.
Yeah.
It's the same. When we've got a life, what do they call it? A life limiting illness.
Mm.
Um, it's just brought more into focus. And so, we've talked about this many times before. I love this idea of life being finite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, recognizing that there's an end of this state is what allows me to live the way that I live in the moment. But I
So it
think
gives you allow enjoying yourself more, would you say?
yes,
You
yeah,
enjoy the moments, you live them more aware of like what's happening.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And also, I find for me, it focuses me on doing the things today that I might put off, because there might not be a time to put it off to, because
Mm-hmm.
we don't know. It could come at any time.
Point. Uh-huh.
There's lots of stuff that the Stoics talk about.
Mm.
Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, he talks a lot about mortality, and
Mm.
I like that way of thinking.
Mm.
You know, treat every day as if it's your last day.
Mm-hmm.
Tell people all those things, do those things. Because there may not be a tomorrow. We might not wake up. But with my client, this is hyper focused. because she's seeing changes in her physical condition every day.
So she cannot do things anymore she would like to do. So
Yeah.
she mentally aware of it, but
Yes.
physically not able to.
No. So she now can't use one side of her body. She's in a wheelchair.
Mm.
You know, but absolutely sharp as a tack. You know, mental faculties, no change at all. So the things that are going on in her mind, you know, she's got a really big capacity to think and to feel.
Mm.
But what she's finding is that thinking and feeling is filled up with this perceived long, slow death that she's having.
Mm.
And also stuff around, is she being a burden? You know, would it be better if it happened quicker?
Mm.
Maybe it won't get worse. Maybe it will get worse. Maybe it'll be worse tomorrow.
So Annie, tell me, what role do you play in all this? How can you support her?
I can, you know, I think the big role that we often play is being a safe space to explore this stuff.
Mm.
And I think first and foremost, that's where we bring. I'm not doing very well with my words today, but I think it's because I'm feeling this really deeply. We can create this space. We can create this safe, wholesome space where people can express their feelings. And I think first and foremost, that is the most important thing.
So would you say that's a release for them?
I don't know if it's so much of a
What
release.
feeling does it give them? I mean, what do you create for them?
Well, I feel that there are many things that people just don't want to discuss with people that they care about because they don't want to increase this burden, or they don't want to feel like they're bringing things down, or they're being overly optimistic. So we're creating a space where we can talk about that. But also, you know, a lot of these feelings are very deeply buried in the subconscious. So quite often we don't really know what we're feeling or why we're feeling it. So I feel for me, my role as a coach is to help the clients identify those feelings, to feel into them, understand what they are and what they mean and why they're feeling them. And then also, you know, some really traditional, let's look at the things that we can do. Let's look at this whole idea of living in the moment, especially if we've, you know, it's really easy to get focused on something bad that's going to happen and then stop doing the good stuff that we can do now. Because today there is stuff we can do. There's feelings we can feel.
Exactly. So it's a shift of mindset, right? Like if so your client, for example, so she can physically not do the things she wanted to do, but help her to discover probably the things she can still do mentally. And there might be new things and new ways of using her time in actually a really good and exciting new way. It's just different. It's the idea, I mean, the ideas she had for her life obviously have changed, but yeah, helping her to discover what else she can still do.
And actually I think there's a really good word in there, which is want, because it's helping her to understand what she wants. Because once we can identify the things that we're passionate about, the things that we want, the things that drive us, it's much easier to then put energy into those things rather than just looking ahead to an end and feeling that the bit between now and whenever the end might come is worthless.
I think super important what you just described and what you just said. And I think this is describing the situation super well, that you can still, even though you anticipate a grief, a loss, you can still have an amazing time together. And as you also mentioned, there are so many people usually involved in anticipated grief. So yeah, learning how to make the best out of this time, and that there is still, yeah, that you can still change the ideas you had.
Question for you though, is that different than it is for everybody else?
Is this different than for everybody else? No,
Yeah,
I think it's not. It's
it's
actually,
not. It's
it's
the
it's
same.
the same. Yeah, no, you're right. It's the same.
It's,
I 100% agree. No, I see this with a lot of clients, that you get stuck suddenly in a life where you never imagined yourself, that you I don't know, you're suddenly separated from your partner, or you lost your job, or and suddenly your world, you think it stands still and nothing is moving anymore and nothing is happening anymore. And Andy, you're so right. This is actually the same thing. It's a shift of mindset. It's trying to see the world from a different perspective, and seeing and finding all the opportunities you actually still have. And they might be absolutely fantastic and amazing, but yeah, but sometimes when you find yourself in this hole, it's hard to find a way out, and to see the different options you're having.
yeah, because often, the life that we're living is the life that we want. We might not know that that's what we want, but it's the life that we want because we're constantly in motion, and the things that our actions are driven by our wants. And sometimes we need to look really deeply to understand what it is that we want. And sometimes the way to do that is to look at what we're getting and then work backwards from that.
Mm.
I love this idea of you can never see where you're going. You can only see how you got to where you are. So
Yeah.
we can look back and go, okay, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing these things. And then we've got an opportunity to change. And that's the same for all of us. With the life that we're living is the life that we want. We just may not understand that this want is subconscious.
Yeah.
So I feel a lot of my role is to help my clients to look into the subconscious, find out what's bringing them what they're getting, and then help them work toward the things that they really want, the positive stuff that they really want. And that's the same whether somebody has a life-limiting illness or is expecting to lose somebody or is just living their life.
Mm.
I could talk about this stuff all day. I think we're gonna, at some point in the future, we're gonna spend some time on this stuff.
Yeah.
This is the dark space that I inhabit.
We definitely gonna go into that. I'm excited to know more about that, because I'm not an expert on that either. Um so let's stay a little bit more on anticipatory grief. So what are usually the emotions mainly coming up when you have clients, patients who anticipate their grief? Like, what are their first reactions?
I think guilt. I think there's a lot of guilt
Mm.
in many different ways. People are guilty about the effect it will have on other people. Um, they're guilty about things they've done, things they haven't done. So I see a lot of guilt. I see
Yeah.
a lot of guilt, um, and sometimes that can be interspersed with periods of real happiness, real joy. When we do something that's really important to us, if we're expecting somebody to pass, or we're looking at our own mortality,
Mhm.
we'll get periods with absolute joy. But then quite often that can make the guilt worse, because then we're guilty that we've had this joyful period.
How do you help someone? Like, I don't know, would you even help them to find the guilt, to fight the guilt, or would you, how do you help patients to deal with guilt? Is it talking about it, or other tools, or what do you do about it?
I think what we do with guilt is we bring it out into the light and we hold it. You know, it's here. This is guilt.
Mm.
And then we can see it, because often guilt's working from the shadows.
Mm.
Once we bring it out into the light, we can see it, and we can see what guilt's bringing us. What is it that we're getting from the guilt? What's the positives in the guilt? And what's it telling us? So I think
Really
that's,
facing it.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. My clients will tell you this. Everything's coming out the cupboard. Everything's coming out those little boxes. It's all coming out the shadows. We're gonna sit it all in the middle of the floor, and we're gonna have a look at it, and we're gonna kick it around, have a play, and see what it's bringing us, because all of this stuff is bringing us stuff.
I love that we are kicking it around. So it's a really good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think also there are some real positive benefits of anticipatory grief, and I think this is maybe gonna lead nicely into your story.
Mm-hmm.
It's preparing us for something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really positive thing, and we can use it to help us focus on the things that are important. If we don't get sidetracked or weighed down by all the guilt, the sadness, and all those other feelings, there's some real gold in there. And that gold is saying, it's almost the concentrated stoic message of live every day as if it's your last. Because we might know that at some point, this last day, this final brick wall is there, and we can see it. And that's sometimes a gift, because for a lot of the rest of us, it's very vague, and we don't look that way. We don't look at that brick wall at the end of, or however we're going to define it. So sometimes there's some massive positives in anticipatory grief.
Yeah, I can confirm that. It's, although it's hard sometimes to see it in that moment, but out of experience, I can say, I mean, as we or as I explained in the first session we had, like, so we lost our daughter when she was 5 weeks old, like 5 weeks after birth. She died. And so we were diagnosed with a heart failure when I was 26 weeks pregnant. And the chances of survival were quite low. So the expectations for her to live. So I need to explain a bit more, because the doctor said, like, okay, life expectancy might be like 14, 15 years maximum, and would be the first couple of years alive in the hospital, basically, with a lot of surgeries. And then with these surgeries on an open heart, you wouldn't know also what it does with the brain. There can be a lot of complications. So it didn't look good. And obviously 26 weeks pregnant, it gives you a lot of time to prepare yourself for the worst. And the emotions we had, for me and my husband, I think they are a little bit different for women and men, because if you carry the child in you and you experience the way of your body is changing. It was also my first baby, my first pregnancy. So it was very overwhelming. And I faced a lot of pain, I have to say. This was, I also had guilt. I faced guilt. I was questioning myself all the time. Did I do something wrong in the first weeks of pregnancy? I don't know. I went to a concert and I was like dancing and I was like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that. It maybe harmed the baby. I mean, this is so natural. You obviously ask yourself all these questions. I can say, I mean, it's nature. It's just, it was meant to be. I mean, I cannot, it's a magic that there are so many healthy babies in this world, because to me, the development of a child, of a baby, it's just magic, and it's incredible what nature does. So I switched my mindset completely, as you can already hear. Like, it's not that I don't look anymore for somebody to blame or for something to blame. So it happened the way basically was supposed to happen. So, and but in that moment, obviously, I felt this guilt. I felt so much like deep sorrow. It was this pain I had, or we had, my husband and myself. I mean, it's also the life you anticipated. It's suddenly gone. The first moment, I think this is for all moms out there who want to be pregnant or who have been pregnant, who lost babies, who had miscarriages. You see the positive on your pregnancy test and your life stands still, or not stands still, but it just changed everything. You anticipate a life, a new life with this baby, and you cannot stop it. The moment you have a positive pregnancy test, you imagine your life with this new person and how it can be. So obviously this was saying goodbye to so many things. We lived abroad. We were like we lived in the Middle East, so we were about to move to Indonesia. So everything stopped. We quit our jobs. We moved back to our hometown. We needed family support. So a lot of emotions, and also, I don't know, anger, denial. There is so much. You're overwhelmed by feelings, and but it prepared us somehow for the loss. I mean, we have decided during these last weeks of pregnancies that if it really looks as bad as it looked during the scans, that we would not do any more surgeries, that we would basically wait. And that's what we did. So I gave natural birth. I had, my water broke, so it was all natural. And obviously it was paired with being proud that I did it, that I gave birth. But it was paired with a feeling of deep sadness, because I knew that we knew that my husband and myself, we need to let go, because it looked as bad as it was, that we were told. And so we did not do any surgeries, and we basically waited for her to die. And this was, I think in the beginning, and I said it in our last session also, I did not let the grief come too close to me, because I was trying to protect myself. And also this hormonal overflow of, like, you have these hormones, you don't know, do you want to breastfeed, you don't want to breastfeed, what are you doing? So because you know that your baby is gonna die. And but I have to say that knowing that she would leave us so soon made us enjoy every single moment we had with her. So we really tried to make the best out of this time. So, and what I'm very thankful for, and I would love to share this with everyone who is going through something similar, making memories. I think also, Andy, you can maybe say or experience this with your clients. Making memories is so important for also everyone who is being left behind, because you might not look at the memories right away, but there will be a time where you need this. You need this, just bringing yourself back into the time with your loved one. Very quickly after our daughter died, so I prepared a photo album with all the pictures, and obviously my tears were running. I was crying, but I knew there will be a time coming where I'm so happy that I have this. And I am. It's at our home. I share this with our kids now. They are very excited. She's a part of it. I have a picture on the with all the other family pictures of her. And I'm so grateful that also my family, that they did a lot of pictures. They took a lot of pictures. I took a lot of pictures. And I prepared a little memory box of the clothes she was wearing, the little like a bracelet she had from the hospital, the milk bottle. So it's so important to me, and I think if it's someone who is older and is facing an illness, and knows she or he is gonna die soon, it's just important to make memories, to just make the best out of it. And these memories will live with you and will help you in sad times to bring a little bit happiness to you. Yeah, so, and what helped me also a little bit is understanding the diagnosis. So we really went into the problem. So we tried to do a lot of research. It might be also different for everyone. So I'm not saying this is the only right thing and the only right way to do it. But for me personally and for my husband, I think it helped us a lot to understand how complex this system is. Like, it's not just a heart who needs to work, this you think everyone has a heart, it needs to work, so what's wrong with it? No, if you really go deep into that and you understand how complex all this is, I mean, what I just said before, no wonder there are not even more problems, because that this all works together the way it does. For me, it's a miracle. And yeah, it still helps me until today to not, I'm not angry about this anymore. I'm not, I don't feel guilt anymore. So yeah, I'm more seeing the positives of that. So yeah.
There's so much there, Melanie. So much there. But the thing, two things that came out of that for me. First was this idea that I have around immortality through legacy. That we live on through the memories that we create.
Yes.
And that's beautiful. and and let's use our name, Sophie. So Sophie lives on in that way. But also, you did, maybe subconsciously, you did exactly this thing that we're talking about. You focused on what was important at the time. And it would have been, if you hadn't have had that diagnosis, it would have been really easy to have got wrapped up into the day-to-day mundane routine of being a new mum. Those countless tasks that need to be done. But you didn't. You lived in the moment, and you focused moment by moment on the people that were important in that relationship. And that's really what I'm talking about. That's what we should be all trying to do every day. And maybe that's the gift of anticipatory grief, is that it gives us the focus to do that.
I
Because what you were able to create in that short time is still here, and it's created you in a new form. You're a different person. You're doing different things. You're helping other people, and you're still talking with such warmth and affection about Sophie. So for me, that's everything. We don't need to say anymore. We could probably finish at episode 2.
Yeah. No, I think like everyone finds their own way. I think the message we would like to share here with all of you is that there are always ways to look at it a bit differently. That it's great to get some help, to get some support in all this journey, so that nobody needs to be alone. Talking is absolutely key and so helpful in this, but I also understand that you cannot share this with everyone, and especially sometimes close family members who are also going through the same anticipatory grief. It's hard to talk to them about it. So but for me, I was lucky. I could talk a lot with my husband during that time. So one was up, one was down, one was up, one was down. So it always like our moods there, but we balanced each other out so well. And we have been there for each other. When one was weak, the other one was strong. And it worked super well. And we talked a lot about our feelings, about what we wish for our future. We really we're on the same page. But not everyone has this, and not everyone has this support. So I can just highly recommend everyone to seek for some assistance.
But you've so beautifully brought out those 3 things that I mentioned. Maybe 4 things, I can't count. The guilt. So we didn't rehearse this, but you felt that guilt. This emotional roller coaster. And you look at it, these twin strands, one's up, one's down, ever crossing. But also, the positives that anticipatory grief can bring, in the way that you hold Sophie now, and in the way that Sophie's legacy lives on very much. She's still very much a part of your life, and still very much a part of your family's life. And you were able to create that by very much living in the moment and focusing on the stuff that was important, and just letting the noise drift off to the sides. So we couldn't have had a better example of what anticipatory grief is. I think you've painted it beautifully with some emotion, and also offer some hope for people, that it's not the event that we fear isn't the end, unless we let it be the end.
I think that's very well put. Yeah.
Okay, shall we wrap it up now?
Absolutely.
I've had a lovely time. I love talking to you, Melanie.
Me too. And I love it when we share our stories. Yes, and we are here for everyone who needs support.
Yeah, we're very much here. And we'll be back very soon for another episode, and loads more great chats.
Thanks, and bye.
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 Thank you for joining us on Finding Light in Grief. We hope our conversation today brought you some comfort and insight. Remember, grief is a journey, and it's okay to take it one step at a time. We're here to walk you through it all. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so feel free to reach out to us on social media. All the details are in the show notes, along with links to both our websites, where you'll find plenty of resources alongside details of our coaching offerings. Until next time, keep finding light in the darkness. Take care and be gentle with yourself. We are Melanie and Andy, and this is Finding Light